Welcome to the first official episode of this thing that I'm gonna be doing. We tried this last Thursday. I opened up with a little story about how I got to where I was. I was feeling pretty confident, you know. I was 23 minutes in, feeling good, feeling confident. My story was, it had flow. I was riffing, as they say in some podcasts. I was feeling confident, 23 minutes in, and I looked down and the mic wasn't on. Really bad start to trying something new, but if you're trying something new, I said it last time. If you're not messing stuff up, it means you're not trying stuff that's new to you. So yeah, lesson learned. But yeah, now we're back trying to rebuild that confidence. This is the first official episode. I don't even know what to call it yet. It's just a live recording. Everything I do here will be posted to YouTube. But yeah, 23 minutes in last Thursday. I said I'm going to do it Monday through Thursday this week. See how I feel about it. If it's not for me, it's not for me. Whatever. But yeah, I'll just go over what I went over last week on mute. I had a couple viewers in here letting me know, but I wasn't reading chat. I was just kind of talking with my hands a lot. I don't really think they understood where I was going for. But I'm coming to you live right now from Nashville, Tennessee. And kind of what I was going over last week was how I made it here. And I don't really want to say like who I am because I don't think you really give a shit. But I kind of just want to like give you stories and then let you decide, who I am to you. That's really all I can do is just be me and let you know kind of what's going on. But I'm here in Nashville. I've been here for maybe 9 months at this point. Nashville's okay. I'm coming from Austin, Texas. I liked Austin a lot. You want to talk about like a youthful city in America that's got a lot going for it? It would be Austin. There's a lot going on down there. I decided to move to Austin. I was 20 years old. It was during a really rough time in my life. I was working in a pawn shop for a long time. I was living at home with my parents, and I was making poor choices, altering my reality. Oh, that sounds like I was like dipping into like psychedelics. I was just, I don't know. I was making poor decisions financially, and yeah, just really poor decisions. And I was living at home, and I kind of needed. What did I need? I needed change. I was just in a really bad mindset, really bad place, and I said, like I need change. And I listened to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts at that time, and he kept hyping it up. He said Austin, Texas is the place to be. Fuck LA, fuck this. And I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna give it a go. So living at home with my parents, I remember walking downstairs the night before. And I was like, hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I'm thinking about moving to Texas. And at this point, they were pretty concerned for maybe my well-being, my mental state at the point. And they're like, whatever change you need to make you better is the change that, we'll agree to. And they're like, well, when do you want to leave? And I said, I'm going to leave tonight is what I said. And I needed the change, to be honest. If I would have stayed where I was at that point, things would look much different than they look now. And so I remember packing up my truck that night. I didn't have a lot of stuff. I had a lot of clothes, just a ton of clothes. To kind of, I guess, I don't know. I've always liked clothes. I felt like I used the clothes to appear as someone who I wasn't. So I was really heavy in the clothes, and I was also a bit of a, I had a loose hand, maybe a heavy hand. I was just very good at just picking stuff up and forgetting to put it back. So a ton of clothes. Packed up my truck. I convinced my parents to give me, because I dropped out of college when I was, 18 or 19? I dropped out of college, and I had a little bit of money left saved up in some like education fund, and I convinced them, give me all the money, And at this point, that was the last thing they wanted to do. I was spending my money every Friday in downtown Jackson, Mississippi, which was where I was living at that point. I wouldn't say every Friday, maybe every 3 days I was visiting a pal I had in downtown Jackson, and not so nice part of town. And, you know, me and him would had a little trade agreement going. So that's where most of my money was going. But I convinced him, you know, I was like, look, I'm going to go educate myself on society, the world, and those around me. You should really get me this money. And so I agreed. They gave me $7,000 out of this fund. It was all the money I had to my name. And I packed up my truck that night. I told them, you know, adios, and I left. I remember driving down. It was maybe when I finally left Jackson. It was 11:30 at night. It was about an 8.5 to 9 hour drive. I'd never made it before, and I remember just kind of like, I obviously wasn't thinking straight. Still, you know, this is a very weird time of my life. I wasn't thinking straight, so a lot of the drive, you know, I was just driving, listening to a bunch of music. You know, it didn't really hit me what I was doing. This big change I was making, and I drove all through the night. And I remember like I'm about 2 hours outside of Austin. You're kind of out in the middle of the Texas boonies, and I just remember the sun coming up over the horizon and looking out and seeing these massive, massive windmills out in the desert. And I'm thinking like, holy shit, you know, I've never seen a windmill before in my life. Like, and that's when it kind of like started setting in. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm in Texas, you know, I'm about to show up to Austin. I didn't really have much of a game plan. I had found a place on Facebook the night prior. I didn't really message them. I might have sent a message of like, is this still available? And they just responded with like the generic, like, yes, are you interested? And I was like, fuck it, you know, that's all I need. It's, you know, it's open. I can move there. And I remember getting there. I get there at like 7 in the morning, and I wasn't tired at all, if you know what I mean. You know, I still had a lot of artificial energy going for me. And I remember showing up, you know, my truck was fucked up. My truck was horrible. It was a 2010 Nissan Frontier. It looked like a nice truck. It had some aftermarket, you know, wheels and tires, a little upgraded suspension, but like, this piece of shit, every time you braked and came to a full stop, the truck would shut off. It had some sort of sensor issue, I guess you could say, and the motherfucker would just shut off anytime you came to a complete stop. And so you'd have to like throw it in park and then crank it for like 90 seconds. And even then, sometimes it wouldn't turn back on. And so I found this place. I don't know why I was going about the truck. You know, I'm stopping and starting the whole way down to Texas, having to crank that son of a gun up. But I remember showing up in my shitty truck to this place. It's in West Campus, Austin, Texas. If you're not familiar with Austin, which I'm sure most of you aren't, West Campus is a bunch of like student living apartments. So you got the University of Texas, and then you got a bunch of these like corporate level luxury sky rises, high rises. It's really just for a bunch of rich kids, and they're really kind of shitty apartments, but they make you pay like $1,600 a month for a fucking cubicle that's maybe half the size of this room I'm in now. But I found one of these cubicles. You know, I'm moving down there in the middle of summer, so most of the students are gone home, and they're doing a bunch of subleasing. So I found a spot in this on the 24th floor of this luxury fucking student living called Waterloo is what it was called. And they were going to sell it, you know, they're doing it for $800 a month. And so I remember showing up that morning. I walk into the leasing office, and I'm kind of shaky. You know, I just came off this drive. Like, I've been up all night. You know, I'm sure I look fucking spooky at least. They probably think there's something wrong with me, which there was. I remember walking in. I'm like, hey, I messaged this place on Facebook last night. You know, I'm here to rent my shit. And I remember this poor young college student. She couldn't have been older than a sophomore in college. You know, she kind of gave me this super weird look, and it was like, you know, that's not how things work. You know, we're gonna need this and this and this from you. You know, like rental history. We're gonna need your parents' like payment stub or something. I'm like, look, like nobody's renting this place. It's just me. I can pay for it right now. She's like, no, you gotta jump through all these hoops. And it was like 8 in the morning, and I was getting pretty tired, so I'm like, well, fuck, all right, let me get all this sorted. Like, how long does this usually take? And she's like, 3 to 5 business days. And I'm like, well, shit. So I remember, you know, I'm feeling pretty baller at this point. You know, I had $7,000 to my name, and, you know, I was in a new city. I was kind of like feeling myself. So I was like, fuck it, you know, I'll get a hotel room, and I'll kind of like scout the city out, see what's going. I didn't realize how hot it would be in Austin. The AC in this shitty pickup truck did not work. So the whole time I was cruising down there, the windows were down. No AC at all, and it was probably like 95 degrees when I get down there. So I roll up to this DoubleTree Hilton. It's right across the freeway from downtown. You get a beautiful view of the skyline. And I pull up with my windows down. I got shit packed out the back of this truck, just like hanging out the windows. And I pull up to this DoubleTree. I'm like, I need a room, and it was $400 a night. But I'm like, I got the money. I'm feeling myself at this point. And so I hole up there for the rest of the day. I think I went to sleep. I don't really remember. But I was feeling pretty excited. I'm like, this is a new chapter. It's a new leaf. I'm turning over a new leaf. In Austin, Texas. What I was actually going to do in Austin, I didn't really have like a career path set out for me, so to speak, but I was kind of into like writing rap music at this time, so I wrote a lot of like lyrics, but they were all kind of like influenced by this like artificial like darkness that I was bringing into my life. So a lot of it was just like really shitty, like grungy, like rap lyrics, and I made videos here and there, but they were pretty weird, and again, from this like artificial grungy darkness. So like I was into some weird shit, and I was doing some weird shit, very questionable shit. But I was like, I'm gonna move to Texas. I'm gonna use this grungy weird shit that I'm doing, and I'm gonna shake every hand that I can shake, and I'm just gonna network into $1 million in like 2 years. I gave myself like 2 years. I was like, look, this is just how we're gonna do it. 2 years, you're gonna be a millionaire. You're gonna network. You're just gonna meet some billionaire or something, or go work for like Joe Rogan or something, because I'm not gonna lie, Joe Rogan brought me out to Austin, Texas. He was just like, it's such a great fucking place, and when I heard that, I was like, okay, and I just Googled like images of Austin, Texas, and I think I saw like a stock photo of the skyline, and I was like, that's the place I need to be. That's where it's happening. This is the new great America. So no game plan at all. Ultimately, yeah, zero fucking game plan. And I'm in this DoubleTree Hilton, and I'm like, okay, well, let's start to network. I'm good. I'm rested. Nighttime had came around, and it's my first night in. So I'm like, treat yourself. You're a new man. So I pull up on Google, and I say, nicest restaurants, Austin, Texas. That's what I type in. And I'd never been to an Eddie V's. Eddie V's is like a franchise steakhouse. I didn't think it was like a franchise. I would have like treated myself, it's cool. I've never been to Eddie V's, and I was like, that's where I'm going, 5th Street. So it's downtown. I can walk, this and that. And so I go out to my truck, and, again, my clothes are stacked in the back seat, like up to the ceiling, among other shit that I have, And I'm like sifting through these clothes. They're all like wrinkled and shit. And I pull out my nicest pair of fucking clothes I got. And I'm like, yeah, this is the fit. So I dress up, I get myself ready, take a little shower, and I'm like, we're hitting Eddie V's. So I buy the Uber, I cruise on down to Eddie V's, they drop me off, and I'm like, all right, this is how we're going to treat ourselves. So I walk in, again, 20 years old at this time. I have probably the shittiest fake ID ever seen. It was like this like Illinois ID. The top corners are peeling. The picture just looks like we took it at my buddy's house, which we did. And it looks like that. And it got me denied at countless amounts of places. Just denied. So super shitty fake. But I was like, confidence is everything in this networking game. So I walk straight up to the bar and I sit down. I say, Basil Hayden on the rocks, please, sir. And let me see a food menu while you're at it, Bartender was super cool. I think it was like a Thursday night. The place is kind of busy. They had somebody playing some live music, like maybe soft piano music. The place was busy. I was feeling good. So I'm sitting at the bar. There's one guy maybe 2 or 3 seats down to my left. And on the right is couples, right? I'm the youngest guy in there by maybe 18, 20 years. Maybe there was a kid sitting with his parents in there, chowing down for like a birthday dinner or something. But, just me and the adults. And I was feeling like an adult, new city, new me. So he brings me my scotch, doesn't ask for ID because I immediately, as soon as he sets that drink down, I'm like, let me get the tuna tartare, the fucking bruschetta or whatever, and I'll order 3 appetizers. Boom, 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 right there. And he's like, this guy's spending some money. Also, check out this guy's fit. Like, this guy has to be rich. So he serves me up, and he knows I'm about to spend a lot of money, doesn't even question me, doesn't even want the ID. I look probably, at this time I looked and probably acted 2 or 3 years younger than I look right now, which isn't very old. And so after ordering 3 appetizers, the guy sitting on my left, he's like, what do you do? What's your thing, And this is when I realized, like, holy shit, I got nothing going for me. Like, I literally don't do anything. Like, I'm a fuck up. I've gotten fired from every job. I have to make up a story so when I network with these people, they really think I'm legit. And the first thing that came to my mind was, I sell underground fiber cable, and I'm a traveling salesman. Dude bought it. He ate it up. He's like, whoa, shit, man. Welcome to Austin. You just got here. I'm like, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. He's like, well, how long are you going to be here? And I was like, unforeseeable future, I just got to get these sales knocked out. And he really bought it. And he was a pilot, and he kind of got into, like, what he was doing or whatever, this and that. And then at some point I look up, and there's these 2 dudes in like full suits, and they walk in kind of like with their earpieces on, like looking around, like holding their ear and like talking to each other. And I look at this bartender. The bartender was super nice, and I was like, hey man, like what's going on? Like what's the deal? Is the president coming? Kind of joking. And he like looks around. He's like, I'm not really supposed to tell you this, but we have a VIP in the back room. And I'm like, who is it? And he looks around one more time. He's like, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but we got Joe Rogan and his family eating in the back. And I said, I'll be damned. Are you serious? Like, he's the whole reason I'm here. Almost said that, but I didn't, But like, holy shit, my first night in Austin, Texas, and Joe the man Rogan is like in the back room eating where I'm eating. I was like, I'm a made man. My life is complete. I'm doing things. I'm successful, and I'm eating with the high value clients, And that was kind of the vibe I was on. I was really feeling this good energy, And I will say I was riding a high, I guess, a wave, I'm riding this wave that, it was created when I decided to leave and was eventually just going to crash. I mean, we're just going to throw that out there, foreshadowing, like, this bitch is going to crash, But I'm feeling good, And so I ordered a bunch of food, like too much food. And I'm talking to this bartender. He keeps giving me drinks, and he's a cool guy. He's telling me all these places in Austin where I should do, where I should go. And so he finally brings me my tab, and it was like $500. And I'm like, holy fuck. I just blew through like 1/14 of my entire fucking, every penny I have to my name. I just blew a 14th of it sitting here at the bar at fucking Eddie V's. But it didn't bother me because I'm like, riding the wave. Life is good. I'm networking. I didn't network for shit, I talked to this bartender as he was serving me drinks, and this pilot mentioned what he did, but I'm eating where Joe Rogan's eating, so obviously I'm doing something right. Anyway, I pay the tab, drunk. I'm just like, fuck it, whatever, fuck it. This is how you network. And eventually he comes back over and he like sets the tab down and he goes, I got a place for you to go after this. And he kind of like looks around. And he like jots some stuff down on like a napkin, like one of those little like bar napkins. And on it, it has his name. We'll say fucking Mikey. It's just, no. His name was like John or something. It says, from John. Find Mikey. And then like signs it almost or something. I'm like, okay, what the fuck? He's like, you're going to walk out the door. You're going to go like a block and a half down the road. And you'll find Mikey. And I'm like, holy shit, first side quest, we're going to accept this. And I'm like, all right, man, well, like, thanks for everything. Thank you for everything, blah, blah, blah. And so I walk out, and I'm hammered. And I've never been in Austin before. And so I walk out, and I remember it was, like, nighttime, and there's a bunch of people just walking around, and, like, it was lively. It's a Thursday night. I can hear the chaos of 6th Street kind of in the distance. And then, it's just lively, big city to me, Austin's not a big city by any stretch, but coming from Jackson, Mississippi, I'm thinking like, holy shit, like I'm in the big city, I'm a small man in the big city, Anyway, so I'm hammered. I'm looking at this napkin. It's like down the street on the left, 1.5 blocks. I'm like, all right, fuck it. And so I walk down the street and I finally come up to this corner. And on this corner is kind of this like abandoned shop. And it kind of spreads out off this corner. And it looks abandoned. And then no sign on it, no nothing. Maybe it says like cell phone repair at the top. And I walk right past it, and there's just a dude, a big, beefy, white motherfucker standing outside this door. And under it's like cell phone repair. And he's just standing by this like unmarked door on the wall. And I'm like, this has got to be the spot. And so I walk up and I'm like drunk, still have the shitty fake ID. Like we didn't lose this thing. And I'm like, hey man, John sent me. I'm looking for Mikey. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, looking for Mikey. He's like, I don't know no John, and Mikey ain't here right now. And I was like, well, I don't know either. Like, this guy told me to come down. And he's like, you got some ID on you? And my heart drops. I'm like, I'm fucked. Like, he's going to turn me away. Side quest over. Like, what a lame start to this thing. And then the door, like, busts open. And this fucking dude walks out. And he's like, and I was like, Mikey? He's like, what's up, man? Like, how can I help you? And I was like, John sent me. I just, like, gave him this napkin. He's like, John from the Eddie V's? I was like, yeah, that's the guy. That's him. Well, come on in. Why didn't you say so, Didn't have to show ID or nothing. He walks me into this, like, unmarked door. And I open it up. It's like darkly damp. It's this like dark lit room, and it's a bar. And they got these like VIP booths all around the corner. And on this bar are a bunch of swings that just kind of sit around. And there's some DJ in there playing some like funky like African house music almost. And I was like, holy shit. First night here, and we're doing some like cool shit. I don't know what this is, but it seems cool. So I sit at the bar, I got a couple drinks. It's this cool speakeasy. I forgot to mention the password. There's a password. That's what the dude at the front was asking me the whole time. What's the password? I don't know the password. What's the password? You can't get in without the password. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? That's where I meant to go with that. Don't know why I didn't. But yeah, didn't have the password. Mikey came and saved my ass. Anyway, the night finishes. I'm fucking hammered. I probably spent $700 by myself. Don't know how. And I remember Ubering back to the hotel room, and I was like, wow, that was an adventure. That was the first night of my life where I really felt like I was doing something. Granted, I spent 1/10 of all the money I had to my name in a single night. And the first night I was in Austin, Texas, 1/10 gone. And I said, networking. Didn't network for shit. But yeah, that was my first night in Austin. From there, I went back. I don't have a job. Didn't have a job lined up. I went back and to this Waterloo spot, this place I was trying to get a apartment at. It was a pain in the ass. I remember jumping through all these loops, and they still were like, well, I need this from you. I need this from you. And I didn't have any of these like rental histories. The only place I'd ever rented was in Cleveland, Mississippi. And I broke that lease, just left and fucked my roommate. All right, R.I.P. But my boy, but I didn't have any rental history. I didn't have any income, any pay stubs or anything because I was unemployed, and so eventually worked it out. My security deposit had to be a fucking $1,000 or something, $1,000, rent and a half, and then I was able to move in. So anyway, finally get my spot. It's the 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom on the 24th floor of this student living spot. The room was shitty. I'm telling you, a fucking cubicle was ass. It was no good at all. But, I was like, holy shit, I'm living in a penthouse. It wasn't even close to a penthouse. But, I had a window that could see over buildings. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, penthouse, fucking living. And then, after all the rental stuff and what I had to do, plus I lived in a hotel. I was living in hotels this entire time. And the hotels progressively got shittier when each day passed. Because I'm looking at my bank account every day and I'm like, holy fuck. I'm just burning fucking money, just burning it. And so, I think the last hotel I stayed at was 8 miles north of downtown in the most ghetto, grungiest, hole in the wall piece of shit hotel I could find. But I had no money. I was fucked. I literally had no, I had to get this rental to go through. But yeah, the rental finally goes through. I have this 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom to my house, and the poor girl at the front who's seen the entire, rise and fall of me trying to figure this out is like, well, you're going to have a roommate eventually, but we don't know when they're moving in. That was keyword. And so anyway, I remember sitting in the room for the first time. The place is barren. I don't have money for fucking furniture or anything. I think it had a couch that came with it, a couch and a TV, but the couch was shitty. And you could tell people were conceiving children on this bitch for probably the past 8.5 years, and no one knows. It was just gross. And it had it kind of caved in the middle, just where someone was sitting for a long time. But anyway, finally in Austin, my first job. We're going to get to that. I'm sitting in this place and I'm like, where can I make some money? What experience do I have? And what do I want from a job? Well, I'm like, my whole goal here is to network, right? All I want to do is shake hands and get in. And I was like, I know the perfect solution. I'm going to work serving at a country club. So I get back on the Google. Nicest country clubs in Austin, Texas. And it shows up this spot. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me. But I remember getting in my shitty truck and driving. It was like 25 minutes out in the rolling hills of Austin. And I show up to this thing. I found it on Indeed. They had an offer up on Indeed. I'm like, perfect. I'm going to shake hands with the members. I have some restaurant experience. Like, there's no way they can say no. And I get there for the interview, and the first question this guy has is like, do you have any country club experience? We serve high-value guests all the time. Our members are important, rich people. This is like how he was talking. He's like dick sucking in the interview. Our members are important and rich people, and they need to be treated with professionalism. Do you have any country club experience? My parents had a country club membership that I would go and spend money on their card. I would just go buy food at the country club when I was broke and eat it. That was the closest thing to country club experience that I've ever had, And I'm like, yeah, I got plenty of country club experience. I know what it's all about. I've worked in a country club all through high school. And he's like, do you have any references? No. He's like, what's the country club called? Well, it was called, blah, 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 in Madison, Mississippi, blah, blah, blah. He's like, look, I'm going to take a gamble on you. I'm going to take a big gamble on you. You're going to come in here. I need you to work. I need you to take this seriously, blah, blah, blah. And so I pull up my first day of work. And, they give me this goofy fucking outfit. It's like a black apron. I got to wear a white button up and the apron is what the worst part was. There's nothing more. What's the word? It's not dehumanizing. It's almost dehumanizing. But if you really want to strip a man of all of his masculinity, you give him a fucking little apron with a notepad and a pen to tuck in there and tell him to go, bring drinks to people. Completely dehumanizing, but I'm like, this is where I need to be. I'm going to network. Shake hands network. Whole goal. And so I go through the training. They put me with this girl who, I don't know, it's not like I was like a dickhead. Maybe I was, maybe I am. I don't really know. But I was very excited to be in this new place. And I didn't know anybody. Not a soul. No family, no friends, no nothing. So I was very, social. I was trying to be a social butterfly. I was saying hello to people in the elevators at my place I was living. If I saw a girl on the street and I thought she was cute, hey, who are you? What do you do? I was just trying to be very social. This girl hated that. I was social with all the employees, talking to the cute ones and talking to the guys. The guys hated me just as much as this girl. They were like, what the fuck is this guy's deal? And I'm like, look, dude, I just moved here from a whole nother state. I don't know anybody, but you seem like a cool dude. Dickhead. Just dickhead energy all around. Honestly, worst people I met in my entire time in Austin, Texas was at that country club. Fuck the people at that country club. But anyway, they put me with this girl to train me. And I remember I wasn't very social with her because she just gave me bitch energy. And this manager who was super nice, I fucked with him super heavy. Short, bald guy. He was maybe 5'1". If you want to talk about a manager who's going to suck dick at a country club, this is the guy. Drove a base model Benz and really, really cared about this position. And look, good for him. It was a really nice country club. I'm sure he worked his way for it, whatever. But definitely no balls on this dude. Anyway, he comes to me, but I love this guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shit talking this guy. I fucked with this guy super heavy. He gave me a chance, and that's more than most people did. But he puts me with this girl, and he's like, Paige is, I don't want to say her name. Fuck, because I already said. This girl's been here longer than anyone else here. She knows our members by heart. They know her. She's a great person. She's going to train you right. So he sticks me with this girl. Bitchiest person I've ever met. I'm pretty sure in the first 2 sentences that this girl ever talked to me, it was my husband does development and makes $400,000 a year. I'm trying to get him to buy me an Audi RS. And like the first 4 sentences, she was trying to like size me up, I think, or something. And I was like, oh, like that's cool. Like, are y'all married? No, but we're gonna be. Okay, fine, whatever. You called him your husband, like that's weird. Super weird girl. Anyway, she micromanaged me and just hated my fucking guts. But we made it through training, and I remember they finally get me out there. They're like, look, we're going to give you like 4 tables. This is where you're going to start. You're going to start with 4 tables, And I remember, every guest I talked to, 100%, confident, smooth. Hey, how you doing tonight? My name's Patrick. I'm a new member here, but I'm going to help you out tonight. I'm going to do the best I can to serve you. What can I get you started with? Are we filling drinks tonight? Trying to give them like that type of energy, They fucking loved it, which Paige fucking hated. Granted, all these members know this girl by name, right? And here I am. It's my 4th day, and I'm coming in. I'm like sweet talking these people, and maybe it's because I wasn't trying to suck their dick so much that they fucked with me so heavy. They're like, this guy gets it. Like, he's cool. He's here to make me have a good time, but he's definitely not trying to like get anything from me, or he's not trying to like be my best friend. Just a cool, real dude. I'm not dick sucking. Fuck it. I'm just trying to be real. She hated it. And I just remember her being like, well, what was it? Did you set like the utensils out this way or this or that? Or like, I'd be in the middle of something. She'd come by and like tell me I'm standing in the wrong position at the table. Fuck me. You trained me. It's not my fault. So I work at this country club for like a couple of weeks. Granted, at this point in my life, I'd never really been good at like holding a job. It was something I was actually like really, really bad at. And I remember, I'm still new to Austin. So I'd been like going out and exploring and like doing a bunch of different things, just out and about. Definitely found a guy, that I could make a trade agreement with downtown, and he could like give me things and I'd pay him cash. You know what I mean? Like, and so definitely showed up late a couple times to this job, and the manager was like all on my ass and like, look, like, this is who I was, I was a shitty worker. I wouldn't have hired me, right? But this guy gave me a chance, and I fucked it up. I fucked it all the way up. So that job probably lasted I think I got my 1 paycheck from the job. Maybe it was 3 weeks. 3 weeks on this job. Some of the staff loved me. The rest of the staff hated me. And the manager was disappointed in me. I was disappointed in me. If I'm going to be honest, I really was. I was like, holy fuck. Like, you really fucked this one up. And he let me go. He's like, look, you like this and that. I think I made up some bullshit reason of like why I couldn't show up. And he's like, yep, you're done. Done. I was like, well, thanks, man. When can I pick up my paycheck? Because I've blown all my money. And I'm still new to Austin. So anyway, Austin, Texas. I'm then eventually I lose that job, and I'm just like sitting in my apartment one night. I'm like, and I'm in the shower, and I get out the shower, and I open this door. I have the whole place to myself. I'm butt fucking naked, butt ass naked. And I open the door. The door to my bedroom's open. I'm in like my towel. Granted, most of the time I wouldn't be. I open it up, and there is a girl standing in the doorway. This girl is standing in my doorway of my room, and I'm in a towel. And I'm like jump, like shaking, taken aback, whatever you want to say. And she's like, hi, I'm Sophia. I'm your new roommate. I'm like, hi, Sophia. Let me throw on some clothes. And she's like, okay, I think that's a good idea. That's when I met my first roommate in Austin, Texas. Her name was Sophia. Super cool girl. Super dope. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. Definitely an interesting way to meet somebody, half naked, pretty much naked. I mean, I'm glad because for a long time I didn't even have like full-size towels. I was using the like the hand towel, like it's maybe yay big, and I would like, dry off as best I could and like kind of like semi-wrap it around my front, but like my ass, it would be like assless chaps, just completely exposed. Definitely an interesting way to meet somebody that you were going to live with for the next 6 months. But she ended up being super cool and introduced me to some people. And she was actually the reason I got my second job in Austin. One night she was like, I think we should do something. This is my friend Danny, I think it was. there's this market at this place right down the street we're gonna go. It's a bunch of like food trucks. I'm like, okay, well, like that seems pretty cool. And so, at this point, like I was social butterfly, shaking hands, meeting people at the pool. I spent a lot of time at the pool, just trying to meet people or see people, but the place was fucking empty. And so we go down to this market, and it's like a bunch of food trucks in this like square, and we pull up and the whole place is like fucking like slammed. Like all these food trucks, there's like 300 people in between all these trucks, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm looking around, and it's kind of like definitely a bunch of people who like buy a lot of vintage and like really like are proud of their vintage. Definitely a lot of like black eyeliner and black like high heel boots almost, you know what I mean? Like definitely a lot of that crowd. What would you say? They go to a lot of shows, that type of crowd. But being new and still looking for a crowd, I'm like, this is a cool type of crowd. Like, what's going on here? And so I'm walking around. I'm like, okay, like, I'm kind of feeling this vibe. Like, this is cool. Like, these are cool people. Like, this is different than what I've ever been exposed to. And there's a smoke shop sitting on the corner. It's called The Glassmith in Austin, Texas. And I walk up, and I'm like, hey, like, I was wearing, like, my fit. I was trying to, like, stand out, pop out, look good for everybody. I remember walking up, and I'm like, so what's going on? They're like, oh, this is just this thing we do. And I was like, I smoked pot this time. I'm like, not a lot of pot at all, but, like, I'm like, are you guys, like, hiring? Like, are y'all running this whole thing? They're like, yeah. I was like, are you hiring? Like, are you? And she was like, yeah, we're hiring. Do you want to, like, work here? And I was like, yeah, like, that'd be cool. So this girl puts me in contact with the boss. Super cool dude. And then I talked to this other dude, and they set up a meeting. I remember going to the interview, was super confused on the names. I was talking to two different dudes over text who I'd never met. And so I sit down with this dude, and I'm like, you're Johnny, aren't you? And he goes, no, I'm not. And I was, super weirded out. But the dude ended up being super cool. He's like, look, we are a smoke shop. We're a smoke shop, but none of our shops are actually in like a brick and mortar store. These are like food truck trailer things that we sell a bunch of legal marijuana out of. And a lot of vapes, he said. We sell a lot of vapes. And I was like, that's pretty cool, And he's like, we also do like social media stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, so that's how I got my job at the Glassmith. I remember, I don't want to go too much into it, but I do remember my first day. I was working with these two dudes, Johnny and Austin. And I remember my first day, I show up, I'd never worked a cashier job. I might have told them I had at like some place, but I really didn't. I was very good at just like making shit up on the fly. I'd never worked a cashier job. And I remember showing up for the first day, and these two dudes, like, I could tell, super like eyeing me up and down, kind of like trying to see what I was about. And they're like, all right, like, this is, here are your vapes. Here's the weed stuff. There's wraps and stuff back there. Go. I'm like, what? Dude, they had a shelf maybe as tall as me of fucking Esco bars. Y'all remember the Esco bars? Those shitty fucking like $8 vapes? They had a wall of them in this shelving unit. And there was probably 94 flavors of Esco bars in this shelf. And these kids would walk up and they'd be like, I want a blue raspberry pomegranate and a spearmint watermelon. And you're looking at this thing that's not color-coded. It's not in alphabetical order. There's no way to find out where it is. And I would sit there for like 5 minutes, and I'm looking for them. And these kids are like on the other side, like, is it that one? Is it that one? Or normally it's right here. I remember that being my first experience working. But eventually I got pretty solid at it. It's not very hard to sell like joints and vapes to kids who really want joints and vapes. But, it's a great way to meet people. That is how I met most of the people in Austin that I would eventually hang out with. Eventually, that job came to a close. I didn't make a lot of good decisions over a long period of time. It's kind of hard to kind of like space all this out. I was in Austin for maybe a year and a half. Maybe a year in, I started working at FedEx, like FedEx office. Like, where people bring packages in and like need to print shit. Worked at FedEx for a while. And it was crazy. Like, I met some people. It was a really exciting city. Like, I would go to like the Raw Dog Run Club like once or twice, and I was like, wow, that's cool. You know, a bunch of kids doing this. What else I do? I did a lot of stuff. I definitely learned how to like network, even with like the wrong people. I met a lot of cool people out there. But if we're really gonna get down to it, my favorite thing I ever learned was I would spend a lot of money at restaurants, at very nice restaurants, and coming in at like 20 years old and looking, you know, just as a kid, you look young. These servers are gonna automatically assume that you're not gonna tip well, so the service is always gonna be subpar. And we're talking 4-5 star restaurants in Austin, Texas, and you're getting subpar service because these dickhead dudes who are like 4 years older than you don't think you're gonna tip them. I always tip like a solid 20%. So but they just assume. So shit service. So what I learned was when you sit down in one of these places, you always dress unreasonably fashionable. Unreasonably. You gotta dress nicer than anyone else there. Overcompensate almost. And you go to these places as a solo diner and you sit down. You pull out your phone, and I had a little notepad and a pen that would set opposite side of where the server is going to walk up. And on my phone, I would pull out my timer, you know, like stopwatch. That's what I would do. And I would set it down right where I knew that the server would bring like that glass of water. And the moment that guy came and he set that glass of water down on the table, I would smack the start button. And just like, but like, never breaking eye contact with the dude. Just smack it. Start. And every time it would throw this dude, girl, it just throws them off guard. You know, there's a little bit, you can see in their eyes like a hesitation, like a little, and they're like, well, how you doing tonight? What can I get for you? What can we get started? You want anything other than water, you know? I'm talking 10 out of 10 customer service every single time I did it. Every time they would bring me like the drink other than water and set it down, lap. So it resets the time. And, you know, the other time's set there. So I'm timing how long it took to get my water, the drink, the appetizer, and then the entree. And every now and then I would just, if I'd see them like in the distance looking at me, because they would always go, and you could always see them like kind of like tap a manager or something, kind of like say something. They would look over at me. And I'd like jot something down, you know, jot. I got free appetizers. I got free desserts. The manager would always come over. Every single time the manager would come over. Was everything to your liking? Can I get you anything else tonight? I would like to give you a dessert on the house. I shit you not. Foolproof. Solo diner under the age of 25. There's not a better way to get... I was broke. I was spending 20% of my paycheck, my weekly check at these places. But I was better served than 95% of the people in that restaurant. Guaranteed. So, little life hack for y'all. That's how I did it. I would get phenomenal service anywhere I went. You just gotta, like, bullshit. The whole thing. I was a great bullshitter. I made that shit up. I wasn't writing down anything on the notepad. I wasn't. The timer didn't do anything. When I left with my free dessert in a to-go box, and the manager, you know, like, shaking my hand and saying thank you, like, I didn't do anything with the times. It was just there. I'll delete it. And wait till next week when I could do it again. Great way to do it. Austin in a nutshell. 7 out of 10 in my life. You know, I'd never lived anywhere on my own. Especially nowhere like where I didn't know anybody. Definitely made a lot of poor choices. Burned through all my money. Made some acquaintances. Some people I actually still talk to. Most of them I don't. Met some girls that I still think about. But really, like, I don't know. I think I needed that, though. I think I came out of that whole experience in my life as a more mature, more seasoned individual in kind of, like, life and how it works. Now, my work ethic was shit still. But, you know, that had time to grow. And I think that's grown a little bit. I think I've gotten, I don't know, burnt out with, like, dating from it all. Stopped, like, completely. Which kind of sucks, but fuck it.
And yeah, just fucking, you learn a lot. If you've ever considered like just doing something like that, like if you're sick of what you're doing now, if you feel like you're not, it's not even like growing, because like growth is a hard thing, but if you don't feel like you're experiencing enough in your current situation, I always tell people, like, take a fucking, just go do something, go do something crazy, go do something like deciding to move somewhere in a 3 hour period and then doing it that night. Crazy, because sometimes, I mean, yeah, it's not going to be, obviously, it's unrealistic, and obviously, whatever reality you have perceived of that thing is going to be completely shattered. And you might go homeless, like I did for 3 weeks, living on couches, living in your car. I never actually slept on the streets, though, which I am proud of myself for. But definitely was homeless. Definitely lived on a couch, and with these different girls. God, there's so many different stories I could go to in Austin. But yeah, was homeless for a bit. Me, fucking homeless. 20 years old and being homeless is an eye-opening experience. It definitely makes you think like, holy shit, money kind of matters. Money is like a good thing that you kind of need a lot of. That's why our society's built around it. And if you don't have enough of it, you might live on the road, live in the street, sleep with girls that you match with on Tinder at their home, and buy them groceries because you can't afford a down payment on an apartment. That's what I had to do, folks. I was buying this girl's groceries because she was letting me live with her in her bed. If you want to talk about a crazy way to a crazy way to get to know a girl you meet off of Tinder, the first thing that we did was live together for like 3 weeks. I met this girl on Tinder and she came to my job and we talked and we kind of hit it off. And I was like, she's like, well, like, I went over to her house. We hung out a couple times before, but then eventually, like, I dropped the bomb. I'm like, she's like, well, like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, look, like, I literally have been living with my homie on his couch. Like, I don't have somewhere to live. And I'm like, I'm gonna just be honest with you. I don't know if that's gonna like weird you out or like make you think any differently of me, but like, I'm straight up homeless. And she offered, she's like, look, you can come stay with me, because she liked me. And that was a crazy way to get to know a girl you just met, is like living with her for 3 weeks. Insane experience. It ended horribly. Horribly. Awful. Terrible, terrible ending. It ended because she left on a trip to Florida and I had nowhere to live. And so what did I do? I asked another girl if I could come like sleep at her house, and horrible ending. 10 out of 10 would not recommend ever do anything like that. Horrible. But I learned. You learn a lot about people, and I guess what they'll put up with. I mean, holy shit. Ladies, like, get it together. I'm homeless. You let me sleep at your house? Crazy. But, confidence and yeah, figuring it out. And it was just like an eye-opening experience. Granted, lost a lot of time. No, fuck time. I spent some time, but we got plenty of it. Lost all my money, though. Lost a lot of maybe integrity with everybody I met down there. Some people still liked me, I think. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Definitely had a couple, like, manic episodes down there. All, like, 100% based off of, like, very poor decisions I was making. But still met some cool folks and learned a lot about life. Um, Eventually, my cousin calls me up and he's like, hey, I'm going to an auction academy in Kentucky. I think you should go with me. And so I was hating Austin at this point. I made like a bunch of like social media videos that I kind of half-assed effort into. None of them were doing good. I was kind of making a fool out of myself posting these videos, but I really wanted to like blow up and do like content creation. But I didn't want to like put all my energy in it. I wouldn't sacrifice everything for it, which I'm glad I didn't, because fuck that. But anyway, I was kind of getting sick of Austin, and my cousin calls me and he's like, look, just come to this auction academy with me in Kentucky and let's get your auction license. And so I went with him, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I finished this 1 week long like course and academy of this industry, that I knew nothing about. Learned to do like an auction chant. And he's like, well, like, when I get back to Austin, my cousin calls me. He's like, hey, and he runs this company here in Nashville. And he's like, hey, I want you to come, work for me. Because he had heard, I kind of want to move to Nashville. I'm sick of the Austin shit. I'm going to move to Nashville. And so, yeah, he's like, come work for me. So I got a job lined up, found a place. No, I didn't. I lived with my aunt for a minute. Eventually, fuck it, moved here. Here I am. Nashville, Tennessee. And that's been the past, oh God, at this point, it's been 2 years of my life. And here I am. Maybe 9 months into this rodeo. Why I went kind of into all that is last Thursday, I was telling this story with 23 minutes in and my mic wasn't on like the whole time. So I kind of wanted to like go through that just to get that out of my system. Had to do it once. And why not do it the first episode? Kind of just tell a little the past 2 years. I guess super brief. I mean, I could go into detail about all these different stories, which I'm sure we'll get to. We got a bunch more of these that I'm going to try to do. I'm really just trying to see how I feel, in front of a camera with a mic in my face, kind of like talking. I'm not as confident in this one as I was the last one, but maybe that's because the last one kind of went so poorly that I kind of have to build that confidence up, which is a good thing. I probably shouldn't try to like, do something new and try to get it perfect every time. Because I feel like it's unrealistic expectations. Now I can do my best every time and eventually, I'll get rewarded for that. So, fuck it. First recording right here. But I do want to kind of get into a topic to kind of end it off. That's kind of what I want to do with most of these is bring up a topic and kind of like just dive into it. Whatever that entails, I do want to like make a disclaimer. I'm no professional in any way of anything. I really don't know much. I mean, I know things, but I'm not like a professional or a master or like have a PhD in any type of thing at all. So what I'm saying is mostly just like emotionally based. Now there's some like intellectual like backing, but it's not much. You know what I mean? It's just like this is just how I feel. Let's see. The first topic. This is the one topic I wanted to get into today is money. I kind of went into that story and I'm talking about, money. My whole goal going down there was to make more money. I lost a lot of money and most of the time I had no money. And I was spending a lot of money. And money's like a weird thing. Like a lot of times I think that, and they say that this is what every 20-year-old in the world thinks. But a lot of times I think that if money didn't exist, then people would find it within themselves to pursue what they wanted. There would be no financial incentive to people's decisions, and that it would create a more passionate world. I guess that's the best way I could word that. Most people would call that communism. Being born in Russia and adopted from Moscow, some people would label me as maybe a bloodline communist. I've never really dived into communism. I have never read like Marxist like propaganda or anything. This is just what I've thought. Especially now, I don't think I'm wrong when I say that like almost every person my age is only acting in a financially incentivized like motive. People go to college. Now, people go to college because, that's all people tell you. That's all your parents and teachers and counselors ever tell you to do is go to college. But the ultimate goal of college, not only does it cost a lot of money to do, but like it's to get a job where you eventually will make more money. It's better than just going and working. So they say. And, people go and they don't really know what they're getting into. But I feel like as you sit in college for a while, you start to realize like that the world does operate on a money basis, that everything is about money. You can say it's not, but it really is. I mean, money doesn't buy status. Money is status. Money is influence. Money is everything. It kind of is. And it's kind of weird to think that like that currency is so, it plays such a vital role. People work like super shitty jobs for money. People do things that they hate for money. People sell pictures of themselves naked on the internet for money, and maybe some of that has like deeper like roots of maybe trauma or something, but it's the financial incentive of these things that like causes people to do it. People sell and traffic drugs or human beings all for like money, and it's just weird that like it's all everything we do is a financial incentive. It's for the most part. Now, obviously, there's probably like romantic things that you can do, but even money can get in the way of that. Money can get in the way of family and like that type of like incentive. But I feel like this money kind of philosophy is almost like a disease. I find myself thinking about money all day, every day. I'm not gonna lie. I think about money all the time. I want a lot of money. I want a lot of money and a lot of cars, just like every other dude my age. I mean, you look at the dudes in Miami trying to sell you courses on how to make money doing this or doing that, like, or flexing like bullshit and just trying to make, it's created this kind of mind virus. And there's multiple mind viruses out there, in my opinion. I believe that we're kind of being swarmed with mind viruses, and certain ones attest to certain people, and depending on who they are and what their background is. But I think for men my age, especially now, and especially men who are active on social media, there's a mind virus of like flex culture and financial incentive. It's different than what it used to be, and I think that's because you have more access to seeing money. This kind of like the flex culture is more in your face than it was when our parents were growing up. My parents, they might know a guy like at school whose dad owns like a big company. You might see him driving like a new Mustang or something, but like it would have to be within that kind of personal circle that you saw wealth. And even then, it wasn't in abundance. But I feel like every time I open my phone, there's some kid driving like a Ferrari, or there's some Twitch streamer on YouTube like buying a Rolex or something. And it's infected the minds of young men around America. And I think it's definitely affected college culture for sure. I feel like frats got douchier. Everybody, it just changed the kind of like game, and it's all about the status and flex culture of money. And I kind of think about it often. I'm like, would things be different, if it wasn't about money? Is money the sole solution to motivation? People say, well, if you didn't have money and there's no financial motivation, people won't work. And that's definitely true. That's definitely true. But is that just it? Is it like money has to exist? There has to be financial motivation, otherwise the wheels stop turning. And I've always thought no, I've always thought there is another way. You here we go. You build up your community. You change the social aspect from, because it's all digital now, and I think we're way past the point of even attempting something like this, because everyone's social circle now exists via the internet. So it's almost like we're too far gone to even do it. But I've always thought, your circle is your community. Your circle starts on a very, very small level. It's not like as big as most people would think. Your circle starts at like a foundation. Maybe it's your workplace, or maybe it's your community. And I think you build up that initial social circle, and you create a motivation through, how do I explain this? Kind of like a friend group. You kind of peer pressure people into staying motivated and getting shit done. I've always kind of thought that. You know what I mean? Like, if you had a good friend group and the whole friend group makes straight A's, but then one of the dudes is just sucking. His grades suck. He's not doing what the rest of the group is doing. Like, is he more likely to get peer pressured into doing better, or is he just going to find it on his own to like do better? I would think that if a friend, if your inner circle intervenes, that you could see turnaround. So I think building up that initial social circle is an alternative. At least, to think of an alternative. You can't even consider an alternative. That's the crazy thing. It's like there is no alternative. And the money could never stop existing. That is another crazy, crazy thing to think about. Is like you couldn't do away with it, right? The whole world's been built on it, and I don't know economists, so I don't really know, but it doesn't even exist, and so to speak. So it's like, interesting. And money's just kind of one of those things that you can sit and ponder about and think about, and it's just like, how does that exist? But yeah, I just find myself so swallowed by this thought of money. Like, I need money. I don't care what I'm doing, but I need to make money, or I don't even like what I'm doing, but because I'm making money and I have an opportunity to make more money, I'm going to do it. And it keeps that virus keeps the wheels turning on the big money machine. And I believe we're taught to think this way. And I definitely think it's gotten a lot easier with social media to, generate some idea like this, make your general public, obsessed with it, and just keep working. It used to be the American dream. The American dream was a job that you were passionate about, that you were motivated towards. It was just, they were obviously a different culture and different time, but it was the community that pushed for motivation. It was the community that pushed for hard work. It was the community that built you up. It was the friendly neighbor, you got to be doing good so your neighbors know you're doing good type, like American dream. And it's all changed. I mean, obviously it's all changed, but like that died. It died. It's dead and it no longer exists. And how they countered that was, I think, it's this like toxic, like, make money flex, buy cars, buy. We've been turned into like a consumer of. It's like I like to think sometimes that my only purpose in this world is to consume, and that is all that is expected of me, is to buy and consume. And I think I don't know. It's definitely an interesting thought. I wanted to rant about money. Money. But yeah, don't get swallowed by it. It's not a big deal, but it is something to think about, What do you do every day, for your own motivations? What motivates you, For most people, I think it's money, and maybe that's not a bad thing entirely, It keeps the wheels turning, keeps life okay, keeps things going. That's all you can ask for. But yeah, this was my first episode. I'm not too happy about it, but I don't think I'll ever be happy for it, Might as well just get it out there. But yeah, I don't have too much time. I got things left to do tonight. But yeah, YouTube people, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back at it tomorrow night. Hopefully a little more on topic. But yeah, anything else? Let's see. We'll end it off with a random fact generated by ChatGPT. A fun fact, so to speak. Give me a random fun fact. Did you know that sea otters hold hands while they sleep to keep from drifting apart? Did you know that sea otters hold hands while they sleep to keep from drifting apart? If you want to talk about commitment and love, that's it. I aspire for that. And you should too. Y'all get some sleep. It's a big day tomorrow for you. Have a good night. Thank you.